الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى أخيك وابن عمك أمير المؤمنين. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. اللهم لعن قتلة أمير المؤمنين، اللهم لعن قتلة أمير المؤمنين، اللهم لعن قتلة أمير المؤمنين. أما بعد, it has been narrated from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to have said, I was merely sent to perfect good manners. إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So in Islam, we see that the topic or the concept of akhlaq and good manners has become or is being put as in the epicenter of the faith of a human being or a Muslim, because akhlaq is the foundation of the perfection of someone's iman. Someone could have a good aqidah, but if his akhlaq don't reflect this aqidah, his aqidah is almost worthless. And we see certain examples in history where people who weren't necessarily Muslims or believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala but had good akhlaq were praised. For example, the likes of Hatim al-Ta'i, someone who lived during the Jahiliyyah times, but because of his generosity, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he praised him. And this is because of his akhlaq, because he upheld a certain akhlaqi concept. So we see that the religion was built on akhlaq. Rasulullah is literally saying that he was sent to perfect our good manners, to perfect our akhlaq. And we see that we're going to talk about Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam specifically, but we see that in Nahj al-Balagha, in a certain sermon called Khutbatul Muttaqeen, Amir al-Mu'mineen in this khutbah, he sort of discusses characteristics of good manners. And this is a very good sermon, and I advise everyone to go back home and read it. It's an amazing sermon, and we can learn a lot from this sermon. So today we're going to be discussing certain concepts or certain practical akhlaq that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam upheld throughout his life. And we'll be looking at different time slots. And inshallah, from these stories from Amir al-Mu'mineen's life, we'll take lessons for us to implement, to become better people, and to become people that the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are proud of. Because we have narrations telling us that, for example, there's a narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, be preachers to us without using your tongue. So when the Imam says this, he means that we have to portray the religion in a way we're not using our tongue, so through our akhlaq, through our actions. And this is the focus of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So the first thing we'll discuss is the sincerity of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So we see in one incident, it's in a battle and everyone is scared. The Sayyid yesterday, he mentioned this point. Everyone is scared, and this battle was called Al-Ahzab, or the Khandaq. And everyone is scared of this warrior. And none of the companions stood up to fight this person except Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And then finally, because the Rasulullah asked who will fight this person, which is Amr ibn Abd Wud, no one stood up except Amirul Mu'mineen. He stood up 3 times. On the 3rd time, Rasulullah finally let him go to fight him. And when he went, Rasulullah said his famous words, "Baraz al-iman kullu," to what? Ila shirki kullu. The whole of faith has gone out to fight the entirety of shirk, polytheism. And there's a certain point that I'm trying to get to. When Amir al-Mu'minin struck Amr ibn Abd Wud, he fell. And Amr ibn Abd Wud was trying to get Amir al-Mu'minin to get him out of his pain. So he was trying to get him to kill him. So what does he do? He spits in the face of Amir al-Mu'minin to try to trigger him so they can kill him on the spot. So what does Amir al-Mu'minin do? He walks away. Once he walks away, everyone is shocked. What's going on? Finally, Amir al-Mu'minin, after a bit, comes back and finishes him off. Later on, Amir al-Mu'minin is asked, why did you do that? He said, if I killed him then and there, I would have killed him because of myself, because I was angry. But I wanted to be angry for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I stayed. So I went for a while, calmed down, and then came back and finished him off. And it shows the sincerity of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that he wants to do everything, every action he does is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even killing a kafir, like Ibn Abd Wud. And we see afterwards Rasulullah lifts the hand of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and what does he say? ضربة علي يوم الخندق تعدل عبادة الثقلين. So the hit or the strike of Amir al-Mu'mineen on the day of Khandaq is equivalent to the worship of the entirety of the jinn and the human beings. Another story that relates to the sincerity of Amir al-Mu'mineen is one day during the Khilafah of the Imam, he was out at night with his servant or his companion Qambar, and they were roaming the streets that night, and they went past the house. They heard a lady with her kids, and the kids were sort of whinging, they're crying, and they're asking their mum, when's the food coming? And the mum would say, the food's coming soon. So the Imam would knock on the door, and she opened the door and she said, how can I help you? So the Imam said, what's going on? Why are the kids saying this? She said, I don't really have any food to give them. And all I have right now is a pot, and it has water, and I'm just stirring the water to make it seem like I'm actually cooking something. But I don't have anything to provide them. So Amir al-Mu'mineen goes back and collects food and carries it on his back. So Qambar is asking him, Sayyidi Mawla, I'll carry it off you. He said, no, these people are my responsibility. So he carries the food on his back and he goes to this lady's house and he gives her the food. The next day, during the day, Imam Ali and Qambar are also walking. By the way, she doesn't know who this person he was. She doesn't know this was Amir al-Mu'mineen. And they were at the door, so she couldn't really see their faces. So the next day they come past to the same house. They knock the door. She lets them in. And she begins to complain, saying, he asked her, she's like, where's your husband? She said that Imam Ali killed him. He said, how did Imam Ali kill him? She said, oh, he took him with him to one of the wars, I think it was Siffin, and he got killed there. And then she started saying, because he brought her food with him the second time he went. She started saying, you're better than Imam Ali. You actually get me food. Imam Ali hasn't done anything for me. So he starts to sort of tell her, you know, you have to give Imam Ali the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was busy. Maybe there were other people that he was dealing with. But she said, no, he wasn't taking care of us. He killed my husband. And you see that this mentality that Banu Umayyah or the Umayyads like Muawiyah, they used to propagate this message that whoever Imam Ali sends to war with him, Imam Ali is a killer, like what they did with Ammar ibn Yasir. Because we know that with Ammar ibn Yasir, Rasulullah had prophesied that the killer are people who are deviants. So what did Muawiyah do? He said, oh, the killer is actually Imam Ali because he's the one that brought him to war. So this same mentality has been planted in the people's heads. Anyway, so Imam Ali asked her, do you want me to bake the bread or do you want me to go take the care of the kids? Because the kids were crying and she was trying to cook at the same time. So it was a bit too much for her. So she said, no, I'll bake the bread because that is the duty or the role of a female, and you take care of the kids. Imam Ali did so. And you see that during this time, during this interaction, Qambar tried to tell this lady that this is actually Amir al-Mu'mineen. But Imam Ali denied him from doing so. And it shows the sincerity of Imam Ali. Why? Because he didn't want to reveal who he was. To say, look, this is actually Imam Ali and this is how he is. To try to get her to praise him. Next point is how he relied on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His tawakkul. Another story is when one day Imam Ali asked Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, do we have any food in the house for dinner? So Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra said, no, we don't have anything. So Imam Ali went out and he found someone and he borrowed 1 dinar from him to go buy food and come back. On the way, when he got that dinar, on the way to the shops, he found Al-Miqdad, which is one of the great companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he saw that Al-Miqdad was sort of anxious. He wasn't in a really good mood. So he asked him, what's going on? Al-Miqdad said, I don't know what to do. I'm in a really bad situation right now financially. I can't feed my family. They don't have any food. So what does Imam Ali do? the 1 dinar that he had borrowed from that person, he comes and gives it to al-Muqdad. And then after this, he goes to the masjid. And then he prays behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once he finishes praying, Rasulullah comes up to Imam Ali and says, do you guys have dinner tonight? So Imam Ali says, he puts his head down, he didn't know what to tell him. But because it's Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, Tafadhal, come to our house. And he welcomes him to his house. When he comes home, he sees that Sayyidah Fatima Zahra is cooking. So Imam Ali comes up to Sayyidah Fatima Zahra and says, where did you get this food from? And she said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had compensated you for that dinar that you gave. So you see that Imam Ali alayhi salam relied on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that much that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compensated him. And that's how we should be. Once we put our reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will help us out. He will take care of things. Because we can plan as much as we want, but Allah is the best of planners. And another akhlaqi concept Amir al-Mu'mineen upheld was his zuhd, his asceticism. Imam Ali throughout his life only owned 2 pairs or 2 pieces of clothing. And to the point where our narrations tell us that it was very patched up. And from how much it was patched up, he said that I was embarrassed to come and give it to the tailor. And that tailor was who? His own son, Imam al-Hassan. And they say that when he would go to the shops and buy clothing, he'd buy 2 pieces, one that's a bit old and one a new one. And he would wear the old one and he would give the new one to Qambar, his companion. And he would tell him, so Qambar would be like, Ya Amir, you're the Khalifa, you have to wear the new clothes. He said, no, you're younger than me and I'm a bit old. So you wear the new clothes. Shows the zuhud of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know, sometimes we like to wear the best of clothing. We like to wear anything that's new. The new shirt that came out, the new pants, the shoes, whatever. We try to buy the newest edition that comes out. But Amir al-Mu'mineen, this is all materialistic. It doesn't really matter to him. And there's a story where throughout the battle or toward the battle of Al-Jamal, he had people or tribes from Basra come to try to give bay'ah, pledge their allegiance to Imam Ali alayhi salam to fight with him. So these guys are very like the heads of the tribes. They're not normal people. So they've come to Imam Ali alayhi salam and they're all waiting. And Ibn Abbas is there and he's a cousin of Imam Ali. And he's waiting for Imam Ali to come and get them to pledge the allegiance to him. So he's seeing Imam Ali's not there yet. So he goes out. He goes outside and to check where the whereabouts of Imam Ali. He sees Amir al-Mu'mineen sitting on the ground and sewing his shoe. So he tells Ibn Abbas, what are you doing? Amir, and you're the Khalifa, you've got people, the tribes, they're coming and they're trying to pledge their allegiance to you. Why are you sitting on the floor? So Imam Ali tells him, you see this shoe? How much is this worth to you? So Ibn Abbas says, it's not much. So he says, your Khilafah, the caliphate, is worth less to me than this shoe. Because Imam Ali doesn't really see the worth or power and kingship and all that. Doesn't really matter to him. Because he doesn't follow this, he doesn't seek this. In another instance, and inshallah I'll conclude soon, very soon, Amir al-Mu'minin throughout his Khilafah, he had governors, of course, in different cities around his caliphate, and one of them was in Basra. He had a governor in Basra by the name of Uthman ibn Hunayth. And this governor is a very pious man. He was invited to a gathering for a feast, and he attended. So Imam Ali, imagine this today. A president is sending an official letter or statement to a leader of a state, for example, or let's say a premier in this country. And he's telling him, why did you attend a certain gathering or feast? And to us, this sounds very strange. But to Amir al-Mu'minin, this is something very big, because he's trying to tell us that these materialistic things, food and clothing and all these dunyawi things, aren't worth much. And we have to be focused on what's actually the reality, which is trying to seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these things aren't going to get us any closer. Inshallah, one more point, inshallah, I'll conclude. If we look at the generosity of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, there are many examples. And a prime example is the time when he was left, or his sons, Imam al-Hassan and al-Hussein, got sick. So him and Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra made a vow. They said, if they get better, we'll fast 3 days. So they fasted. So once they got better, they started fasting. On the first day, someone came knocking on the door, someone who was poor. Third day, and then they came, got the food, the iftar they were going to eat, and gave it. And this happened 3 times, on 3 days. They did not eat iftar for 3 days. Now you tell me that today we are in the holy month of Ramadan. Can we live a single night without eating iftar? Or at least if someone comes to ask us for iftar, we'll give them a portion of our food. Not everything that we've cooked. That was the generosity of Amir al-Mu'minin. And if we can take just this as a note for us and to contemplate over that, especially on a night like this, inshallah, we can be of those who Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam and Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman can put their hands on us and rely on us as we seek their pleasure in this world. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه ومن مقوية سلطانه والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.